Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill sitting here Sunday morning, Arkansas, shocking the world against Tennessee, and quite frankly, certainly shocking me. Like for the Arkansas fans that listened to our game preview about this football game, I thought Tennessee was one of the most impressive teams in the country heading into this matchup. And you've seen good things from Arkansas, but you haven't seen a ton of consistency. And I think we all had the question, can they be consistent for 4 quarters to win this football game? Yeah, they were. And was it all pretty? Absolutely not. But this is an Arkansas defense that allowed 332 total yards to what I think is one of the best offenses in the country. Travis Williams, has there been a more impressive defensive coordinator we've seen across the country? I don't think we have. Fired up to get into this one. Now, before we do, and as always, to the Arkansas fans, let it fly in the comments section. Ton of support y'all have shown to the boys over the last couple weeks. That we said this heading into 2024. It certainly still stands sitting here Sunday morning. Still, this Arkansas team's must-watch TV. Like, whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's going to be really, really fun to watch. We saw that. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I'll give you the T-box. I think we should start on the defensive side of the football.
And Travis Williams, you kind of said it. He seems like he's putting himself up to get a big head coaching job at some point. Done an excellent job at Arkansas, but I think what you saw him throw at Tennessee really kind of threw them off their game. He went to that three-man front, pretty much 3 defensive tackles, maybe a Landon Jackson at times. I think that really made it hard for Tennessee to run the ball and hit the big plays. Like, Tennessee got some yards on the ground for sure, but they really only had the one big one on the ground. And when Arkansas had chances to make big negative plays that really threw Tennessee off, they did it, whether that was sacks, whether it was negative plays in the run. I think that was a really brilliantly schemed up game against this Tennessee offense.
It was brilliant. That's the word I would use too. Like, you look at what Travis Williams did, it was, I mean, just changing the picture on a young quarterback. This is a Tennessee offense that is built on like pre-snap reads. Like, hey, what am I getting? That's what I'm going to check into, and that's what we're going to go with. You changed the picture in such a high level. What I thought was so good for Arkansas on defense was you were able to create negative plays, right? You had 4 sacks, you had 4 tackles for loss, but you also didn't give up the big play. Like, heading into that last drive, Nico's longest completion was 17 yards. And then you had that 152-yard run from Dylan Sampson. Outside of that, this Tennessee offense that is predicated on hitting explosive plays, they just weren't able to hit those. And I think that it kind of falls. I mean, the players played phenomenal on defense. Like, from a personnel standpoint, guys like Landon Jackson, they dominated. But my biggest takeaway is Travis Williams out-schemed what I think is one of the best offensive minds in all of college football, and Josh Heupel, and I think that's what won Arkansas this football game.
Yeah, I don't want to ignore the players either, because you said it. I mean, the way they've turned the secondary around in Arkansas is nothing short. I mean, this unit, it's so
good.
They've developed guys really well. They hit on their portal guys. They can play different styles. They take the ball away. I can't say enough about what I think that secondary has been. I think pretty much top to bottom. I think the safeties, everybody tackles, cornerbacks tackle, safeties tackle. They come up, make big plays in the run. I can't say enough about what they've done in that.
Tackling was my biggest takeaway too. Dill, Tennessee had 45 yards after the catch all game. Like, this is a Tennessee team that, yeah, they can push the ball down the field, but what it's really predicated on is getting the football to their playmakers in space and manufacturing space against an opposing defense. And we haven't seen, and I'm not smart enough, I don't get paid the big bucks to tell you how this happened. But Dill, Arkansas just seemed to cut down on the space Tennessee was operating in. Like, there just wasn't guys getting the football with a lot of room to operate. And when they did have the football with room to operate, like Tennessee or Arkansas's defensive backs were coming up and tackling.
And I think a lot of that predicates on them having a lot of balance in their skill sets. I mean, you don't have linebackers who are just like big run-stopping thumpers. I mean, Xavier, sorry, not the biggest guy in the world, but he'll go play physical in the box. He also can really play good in space. Similar things you could say about Brad Spence and everyone else.
I thought Dix played phenomenal. Like, Brad Spence was kind of my guy heading in. Thought Dix was really good. And I think the second storyline is, all right, so the secondary played brilliantly. I think Travis Williams did. And you can tell this is such a well-coached team on defense because, like, when they go to zone coverage, like, there aren't a lot of busts. There aren't a lot of, like, open throwing windows. And that largely has to do with just how you coach those zone coverages. Like, Travis Williams, again, doing a phenomenal job. But I think the second storyline is, Dill, I did an episode on Thursday talking about what's the pathway for Arkansas to win this football game. It was like, hey, can Nico beat you? Like, we haven't really seen Nico have to take the ball into his own hands and win a football game. This was a rowdy environment. This is a young quarterback that is extremely talented, but we haven't seen him necessarily have to shoulder the load because of how good this rushing attack was. The biggest story for me was, can Arkansas stop the ground game? And they did. And I'll shout out guys like Dix. I'll shout out guys like Eric Gregory on the inside. But
That's another, like, I look at that front seven, it's much deeper than I even would have thought. Like Ian Gefford playing really, really good ball. Quincy Rhodes, like guys who, again, you knew the top end was good. Cameron Ball, like those guys can play really good football. We knew they'd do it. But again, losing some of the guys they lost in the portal and moving on, I think the way that they've kind of replenished that cupboard has been really, really impressive.
Yeah, this team got so much better in the transfer portal. Like, yeah, you lost some guys, and like we talked about this with the linebackers, right? You lose your top 2 leading tacklers at the linebacker position from last year. Like, they got better at linebacker. Like what they did in the portal, they got better at that position. Whether it's Brad Spence stepping up, whether it's Xavier Sorey coming in and being an all SEC caliber guy, and we kind of said it, like Landon Jackson, as good as he is as a pass rusher, had 7 quarterback hurries in that football game. Really, really good setting the edge. Really, really good against the run deal. That's a Arkansas light box Tennessee a decent amount. Like, they were saying, hey, like, let's just see if you can run the football. And I was like, I feel like that's not what I would do. Like, I feel like I try to take away the run game, put 7 guys in the box, and whatever Travis Williams thought, like he was confident that Arkansas on defense could stop Tennessee with a light box, and they did. We don't.
That was the athletic picture that Arkansas had in terms of their overall team speed on defense. I think was really what was giving it the problem, because you look, I mean, guys are coming from space and making plays in the run game. Like, again, it's not like Arkansas just like buried that. Like, Tennessee got their stuff. They got to some of their power schemes. They were hitting some of those 4 or 5 yard plays that they need to hit. But again, they didn't hit big ones. They tackled really well in the secondary. And then when they had their shot to make big plays that kind of kill drives, they made them very consistently. It was just like, I think it worked to a T, because obviously they didn't really play to stop the run solely. They weren't playing 8-man boxes, nothing like that. They didn't give up anything in the air really at all. And then they were able to tackle from the secondary spots.
Just brilliant and I think a lot of Arkansas fans understand, like, this game was won on the backs of the defense. Let's talk about the offense. Let's just say Andrew Armstrong, Dale. We've talked about him a lot. He's one of the best wide receivers in the country. Like, the passing attack goes through Andrew Armstrong. I don't blame Arkansas. Like, he can do it all. He's yards after the catch guy. He can work vertically. How big he is and how good he is with the football in the air, and then you combine that with how smooth of a mover he is for his size. Like, that's some special stuff out of him. But you look at Taylor Green and say, did Taylor Green play his best game? No. But did he also not make any of those catastrophic plays that lose you football games? That was the story here. Like, Sam Pittman said this in his press conference, when we have the same amount of turnovers as an opposing team, we can win any football game. That's what you had. You had 0 turnovers. And I think Taylor Green is a really good quarterback for this kind of offense, because there are still struggles with Arkansas in pass protection, specifically with Keyshawn at that right tackle spot. But Taylor Green's ability to get out of some of those tricky situations, extend plays, and then make plays pushing the ball down the field. It's not a crazy stat line from Taylor Green. Thought he played phenomenal football, or very solid football.
He did what he needed to do to keep them on the field. That was the big thing. It's not like they were like an offensive explosion or necessarily, like they weren't hitting big plays a ton, but they were staying on the field. I mean, they took away that pretty much that first half of that football game. I think they were on it for like,
dominated
of it. So for them to dominate the time of possession, like play complementary football with the defense. So again, not making turnovers, getting enough first downs to kind of keep themselves rolling, keep that defense fresh. I mean, that offense, I thought, did it like that. They certainly did their part in this win. It's like, obviously the defense is the juggernaut for this Arkansas team. But the offense, if they play like that and they don't turn the ball over, DeQuinton Jackson's like really good. I don't know how he got so much better from what he was at Utah, in my opinion.
Well, he was great at Utah in 2022 and then like tapered off in 2023. Like, that was another one of those transfer portal additions that excited me, similar to Taylor Green, where it's like, all right, Taylor Green, he's a roller coaster. Like, the track record isn't great in terms of the turnovers. That being said, there's some high upside there. I think the same thing for Jaquin Jackson. Played really good. True freshman Braylon Russell's just an absolute hammer, dude. He's really fun to watch run. One other takeaway I had was the red zone offense was bad, and Arkansas still figured out how to win. Like, you had multiple opportunities to score touchdowns in the red zone. You were settling for field goals. There are people that I'm listening, kind of listen to like what some other people thought of the football game. They're like, Arkansas just dragged this game into the mud and won it. Yeah, it was a gritty win, 100%. This win could have been a little bit bigger.
I also don't think dragging it into the mud is like, well, if your defense just plays really, really good football, it's not like dragging it into the mud. It's not like Arkansas couldn't move it and returning the ball over. It's like they just were playing complimentary ball. They were playing not safe on offense, but they weren't really playing to make a ton of mistakes. They ran the ball much more effectively, frankly, than I would have thought. And then they played good defense. So I mean, they really executed a recipe that I think you can win this game. And I wouldn't call that dragging it into the mud. That's just staying on schedule, being on the field a lot, and then making big plays on defense.
All right, two things we'll close out. One, gritty win. Like, in terms of, I think this is fair to say, I think Arkansas just wanted to win that football game more. And shout out to the fans, like, phenomenal environment. Like, that probably permeated onto the football field. Sam Pittman shouted it out in the press conference, but you could tell Arkansas was like banged up. Like, guys were going down, coming back in. Like, it just seemed like Arkansas wanted to win that football game.
Nico Slaughter, especially against his old team, he felt like he wanted it.
100%. And the second thing I want to talk about is like, where's this Arkansas team kind of sit through the rest of 2024, where this is a defense that I have a ton of belief in an offense that I don't even think Arkansas played their best game on offense. Like, we've seen Arkansas be extremely dynamic on the offensive side of the football. How dangerous is this team moving forward in the SEC? Because quite frankly, I think they beat one of the best teams in the conference just now.
I mean, if they don't turn the ball over, they're extraordinarily dangerous. Because of what you said, I think the defense is wildly underrated in a certain sense. I think people don't really recognize how talented, how many pros are on that defense right now. I think there's a bunch of them. And then their offense, again, like, is their offensive line up to where it probably needs to be at some point? Maybe not. I mean, certainly on the right side, they have their struggles in pass pro.
Yes.
I thought they did take a step. I thought their physicality in the run game, especially on the left side. I mean, Carmona, he's so good.
Talk about a pro. That's a pro.
So it's like, I think they're continuing to get better, which is very encouraging, because I've seen games where it's like, oh, like, that's not a good offensive line. Today, I think they went and battled with a really, really good team. Obviously, the pass pro was what it was. They didn't have a ton of time, but they did hammer the ball on them a little bit. I think if this team, again, Taylor Green doesn't turn the ball over and can still make some of those plays he makes to keep them on the field, yeah, they can challenge anyone.
And shout out to Singleton too, coming in and gritting out that game. Like, that's a tough spot for a backup quarterback. Came in, played really well. What a win for Arkansas. This is why we love college football. Shout out to the Arkansas fans. Y'all continue to show a ton of love to the boys. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.